She had no home, no money, and no one waiting for her anywhere. Yet on a cold evening, when a stranger's car broke down on an empty road, this homeless girl chose kindness over survival. She didn't know the man was a billionaire hiding his identity. And he never imagined that a single act of compassion would change his heart and his entire life forever. The night air was sharp, cutting through the thin layers of clothing wrapped around her small frame. The city had a way of pretending not to notice people like her, especially after sunset, when neon lights glowed brighter than human empathy. She sat near the edge of the sidewalk, knees drawn close to her chest, rubbing her hands together for warmth. Her name was Lily, though no one had spoken it kindly in a long time. At just 19, Lily had already learned how cruel the world could be. She had no parents, no home, and no place where she truly belonged. Every day was a careful balance between hunger and hope, between staying invisible and staying alive. She survived by collecting discarded bottles, doing small favors, and sometimes simply trusting that tomorrow would be a little kinder than today. That evening, Lily was about to settle into her usual spot near an old bus stop when she heard it, a sharp sputter, followed by silence. A car had rolled to a stop just a few meters away. It wasn't flashy or new, just a clean, dark sedan that looked oddly out of place on this forgotten stretch of road. A young man stepped out, frustration written all over his face. He looked around, clearly surprised by the emptiness of the street. Lily watched quietly from a distance. Years on the streets had taught her to be cautious. Most people didn't want help from someone who looked like her. Some didn't even see her as human. The man sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Great, just great," he muttered, popping the hood of the car. He stared at the engine like it had personally betrayed him. Lily hesitated. She wasn't a mechanic, but she had spent enough time around broken things, broken bikes, broken heaters, broken lives, to pick up a few basics. More than that, she recognized the look on his face. It was the same one she saw in the mirror sometimes. Not anger, not fear, just quiet helplessness. She stood up slowly, brushing dust from her worn jacket. Every step toward him felt risky. What if he yelled at her? What if he thought she was trying to steal something? Still, something inside her wouldn't let her walk away. Excuse me," she said softly. The man turned, clearly startled. For a split second, his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Then he noticed how thin she was, how carefully she kept her distance. His expression softened. "Yes," he asked. I think your battery cable might be loose," Lily said, pointing gently. "I've seen that happen before." He blinked, surprised. "You know about cars?" "Not really," she admitted with a small, nervous smile. "Just enough." After a brief pause, he nodded. "I'm Daniel," he said. "And honestly, I'll take any help I can get right now." She stepped closer, careful not to touch anything without permission. She leaned over, squinting at the engine, and gently adjusted a cable that had come slightly undone. Her fingers were quick and precise, practiced from years of fixing little things just to get by. "Try now," she said. Daniel turned the key. The engine coughed once, then roared back to life. His eyes widened. "You did it," he said, almost laughing. "I can't believe it actually worked." Lily stepped back, relief washing over her face. "I'm glad," she said. "You should be okay now." Daniel closed the hood and turned to her. Up close, he noticed the details he'd missed before, the faint bruises on her hands, the tiredness in her eyes that no amount of youth could hide. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "You really saved me tonight." "It was nothing," Lily replied quickly. "I should go." "Wait," he said. "At least let me buy you some food. It's the least I can do." Her stomach tightened at the offer. Hunger was a constant ache, but pride was the only thing she still fully owned. She hesitated, then shook her head. That's okay. Daniel studied her for a moment, then spoke gently. You helped me without asking for anything. Let me return the kindness. Please. Something in his voice felt different. Not pity, not obligation, just genuine respect. Slowly, Lily nodded. They walked to a small diner nearby, the kind that stayed open late for night shift workers and lost souls. As Lily ate, carefully at first, then with quiet gratitude, Daniel watched her, feeling something unfamiliar settle in his chest. They talked about nothing important at first. The weather, the city, small memories. Lily didn't share much about her life, and Daniel didn't push. He didn't mention that he owned companies worth millions, that his life was usually filled with boardrooms and bodyguards. Tonight, he was just a man whose car had broken down, sitting across from a girl who had nothing but kindness to give. When they finally stood to leave, Daniel felt reluctant, like the night was ending too soon. Maybe I'll see you again, he asked. Lily smiled, a real smile this time. Maybe. As she walked back into the shadows, Daniel realized something unsettling and beautiful at the same time. For the first time in years, someone had helped him without knowing who he was or what he was worth. And that thought stayed with him long after he drove away. The next morning, Daniel woke up with an unfamiliar lightness in his chest. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of his penthouse apartment, reflecting off glass walls and polished floors, yet his thoughts were not on the luxury surrounding him. They were on Lily, on her quiet voice, her careful movements, the way she had helped him, without expectation or judgment. He stood by the window, overlooking a city that usually bowed at his feet. At 27, Daniel Cross was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country. His name carried weight, power, and influence. People smiled wider when they heard it. Doors opened. Opinions changed. But last night, none of that had mattered. Lily hadn't known his name, his status, or his wealth. She had simply seen a stranded human being and chosen kindness. That was rare, and it disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. At the office, Daniel tried to lose himself in meetings, contracts, and numbers, but his focus kept slipping. Every chart blurred into the image of Lily sitting across from him in that small diner, her hands wrapped around a warm cup like it was a treasure. He wondered where she had slept that night, whether she was warm, whether she was safe. By late afternoon, he made a decision that surprised even himself. He drove back to the same stretch of road where he had met her. The city looked different during the day. Less mysterious. More honest. Daniel parked nearby and stepped out, scanning the area. People passed by, busy with their lives, barely noticing the quiet suffering woven into the sidewalks. Then he saw her. Lily was sitting near the bus stop, sorting through a small bag of cans. Her hair was tied back with a faded ribbon, and she hummed softly to herself, as if trying to keep the world at a comfortable distance. Daniel approached slowly. Hey. She looked up, startled at first, then her eyes widened in recognition. You, she said, standing quickly. Your car. It's fine, he smiled. I just wanted to say hello. She seemed unsure, glancing around as if expecting him to disappear as suddenly as he had appeared. Why? Because I didn't even ask your name last night, he said. I'm Daniel. She hesitated, then said softly, Lily. He liked the way it sounded. Simple, gentle. They talked again, this time longer. Daniel brought coffee and sandwiches, careful not to make it feel like charity. Lily accepted, hunger outweighing hesitation. As they talked, she slowly opened up about growing up in foster homes, about running away at 16, about learning to survive without becoming bitter. I try to be kind, she said at one point, eyes fixed on the ground. Even when the world isn't. I don't want it to change me. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. He had spent years building walls around his heart, convincing himself that kindness was a liability. Lily made him question that belief. Days turned into weeks. Daniel found excuses to visit that part of the city, always careful to dress simply, to drive ordinary cars. With Lily, he was just Daniel. Not a billionaire. Not a powerful man. Just someone who listened. He helped her in small ways, bringing food, clean clothes, even convincing her to let him book a cheap motel room on colder nights. She resisted at first. I don't want to be a burden, she said once. You're not, he replied firmly. Friends help each other. The word friends lingered between them, warm and uncertain. But the world had a way of reminding Lily where she stood. One afternoon, as they walked together, a group of well-dressed people passed by. One woman whispered loudly, "Why is he talking to her?" Another laughed. Lily heard every word. Her shoulders stiffened, and she took a step back, creating distance between herself and Daniel. "You don't have to walk with me," she said quietly. "People judge." Daniel frowned. "Let them." "You don't understand," she replied, pain slipping into her voice. "People like you don't belong with people like me." He wanted to tell her the truth then. Wanted to confess everything. But fear stopped him. Fear that the truth would shatter what they were building. "I belong where I choose to belong," he said instead. That night, Lily lay awake in a borrowed bed, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future, one that included warmth, safety, and maybe even love. But with that hope came fear, because hope hurt more when it was taken away. She didn't know that Daniel was hiding more than just his wealth. And Daniel didn't know how long he could keep living a lie. The distance between them was shrinking emotionally, even as the truth loomed closer. Love was beginning to grow, not from comfort or riches, but from shared silence, trust, and kindness. And soon, the world would test whether that love was strong enough to survive judgment and truth. Lily noticed the change before Daniel ever said a word. It was subtle at first. A hesitation in his smile, a faraway look in his eyes when his phone buzzed, and he silenced it too quickly. Sometimes he arrived late, apologizing without explaining why. Lily didn't ask many questions, but life on the streets had sharpened her instincts. She could feel something shifting, like the quiet moment before a storm. One evening, they sat together on a low concrete wall near the river. The water reflected the city lights, turning darkness into something almost beautiful. Lily pulled her jacket tighter around herself, though the cold wasn't what made her uneasy. "You've been distracted lately," she said softly. Daniel exhaled slowly. "I know. I'm sorry." "Is something wrong?" she asked. He wanted to tell her everything. The truth burned on his tongue. But he was afraid that once she knew who he really was, she would look at him the way everyone else did. Or worse, she would feel betrayed. "It's just work," he said. Lily nodded, but her eyes searched his face. "You don't look like someone who's only tired from work." Silence stretched between them. Finally, she spoke again. "You know, people don't usually stay. Not with someone like me." Daniel turned to her. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she swallowed, "people help for a while. Then they get bored. Or uncomfortable. Or embarrassed." She forced a small smile. "I'm used to it." Something inside Daniel cracked. He reached out without thinking and took her hand. She stiffened for a second, then relaxed, letting her fingers curl around his. "I'm not going anywhere," he said quietly. For a moment, Lily let herself believe him. But the truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply it's buried. A few days later, Daniel arranged for Lily to attend a free community event downtown. There was food, music, and temporary job sign-ups. Lily was nervous but hopeful. She wore the cleanest clothes she had, hair neatly tied back, heart pounding with unfamiliar optimism. While she waited near one of the booths, a sleek black car pulled up nearby. Two men in suits stepped out, scanning the crowd. Lily's attention drifted back to the flyers in her hands until she heard a familiar voice. "Daniel, we've been looking everywhere for you." She froze. Turning slowly, Lily saw Daniel standing there, posture straighter than she'd ever seen it. His expression changed the moment he noticed her. Color drained from his face. The men spoke again, clearly irritated. "The board meeting was moved. The investors are waiting. You can't keep disappearing like this." Billionaire. The word hit Lily like a physical blow, even before anyone said it out loud. Pieces fell into place. The way people treated him, his confidence, the unexplained absences, the expensive phone he tried to hide. She looked at him, eyes wide. What are they talking about? Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. There was no way out now. "Lily, I was going to tell you." "Tell me what?" Her voice trembled. "That you're rich? That you've been pretending this whole time?" One of the men scoffed under his breath. "Pretending? He's Daniel Cross." Lily stepped back, as if the name itself could hurt her. "So all this," she gestured between them, "was what? An experiment? A charity project?" "No," Daniel said quickly. "Never." "Lily, please." "You lied to me," she said, tears welling up. "Every day." "I hid the truth because I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid you'd see me differently. Afraid you'd walk away." She laughed bitterly. "Funny. I'm the one walking away now." People were staring. Lily felt their eyes, judging, whispering, measuring her worth against his. Shame washed over her, hot and suffocating. "I thought you liked me for who I am," she said. "Not as some secret escape from your perfect life." "I do like you," Daniel said, voice breaking. "I love who you are." The word love hung in the air, heavy and fragile. But Lily shook her head. "You don't love someone by lying to them." She turned and walked away, ignoring the way her chest ached with every step. Daniel stood frozen, torn between chasing her and the world demanding his attention. That night, Lily returned to the streets, her hope shattered. Trust was dangerous. Love was a luxury she couldn't afford. And Daniel, surrounded once again by wealth and power, realized something terrifying. For the first time in his life, he had everything, and it meant nothing without her. The city felt colder without Daniel. Lily noticed it in the way mornings dragged on, in how silence pressed heavier against her chest at night. She told herself she was better off this way. She had survived long before him. She would survive again. Still, every time she passed the diner or the bus stop, memories rose uninvited, twisting her heart. She avoided the places they used to go. She avoided thinking about his voice, the way he listened, the way he looked at her like she mattered. What hurt most wasn't that he was rich. It was that he had known the truth all along, while she had shared her life with nothing held back. One evening, rain poured relentlessly, soaking the streets and everyone forgotten by them. Lily huddled under a shop awning, shivering, when a group of teenagers passed by, laughing loudly. "Hey, isn't it the girl who was hanging around that billionaire?" one of them said. Another snorted. "Guess she didn't get the fairy tale ending." Their laughter followed Lily long after they disappeared into the rain. She hugged herself tighter, shame burning in her chest. Society was quick to judge, quicker to assume the worst. In their eyes, she wasn't kind or strong, just a homeless girl who had aimed too high. Across the city, Daniel sat alone in his penthouse, staring at his phone. He had typed Lily's name more times than he could count, deleting messages before sending them. What could he say that wouldn't sound like another excuse? His world had returned to normal, meetings, cameras, expectations, but it felt unbearable. People praised his success, his discipline, his brilliance. None of them asked if he was happy. He made a decision. If Lily believed he had chosen wealth over honesty, he would show her the opposite. The next day, headlines exploded. Daniel Cross announces major shift in personal life and business direction. He stepped down from several public-facing roles, appointing trusted executives in his place. He sold his penthouse, donating the proceeds to shelters, job training programs, and affordable housing projects. The media was stunned. Investors were confused. Friends called him reckless. But Daniel felt lighter with every choice. He moved into a modest apartment near the same neighborhood where he had met Lily. No guards. No luxury cars. Just him. Finding Lily wasn't easy. She moved often, staying invisible when she needed to. Daniel walked the streets for days, asking quietly, never mentioning his name. Finally, near the river where they had once sat together, he saw her. She looked thinner, tired, but her eyes were still the same. "Lily," he said gently. She turned, shock flashing across her face, followed quickly by anger. "What are you doing here?" "I'm not leaving," he said. "Not until you hear me out." She crossed her arms. "I already heard enough." "I know I lied," he said, "and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But I need you to know something. I didn't fall for you because I was pretending to be someone else. I fell for you because you showed me who I was when none of the money mattered." She scoffed. "You still have everything." "No," he said softly. "I gave it up." Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "I chose you," he said, "and the values you live by. Kindness, dignity, compassion. I'm building a life that matches that, whether you're in it or not." Silence stretched between them. Rain began to fall again, light at first. "You don't have to forgive me," Daniel continued. "I just needed you to know the truth. All of it." Lily looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something different. Not the confident man from before. Not the billionaire from the headlines. But someone vulnerable. Someone who had lost something precious. Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't want your money," she whispered. "I just wanted honesty." "I know," he said. "And I'm so sorry I didn't give you that from the start." For the first time since they'd parted, Lily didn't turn away. Forgiveness wasn't instant. Trust didn't magically return. But something cracked open between them, small, fragile, real. And sometimes that was enough to begin again. Lily didn't forgive Daniel that night. But she didn't walk away either. They sat together under the bridge by the river, the rain easing into a soft drizzle. The city hummed in the distance, indifferent as ever. Daniel didn't try to touch her hand. He didn't promise grand futures or easy happiness. He just stayed. And for Lily, that mattered more than words. Over the next few weeks, Daniel became a familiar presence again, not as a savior, not as a billionaire, but as a man trying to earn back trust one honest moment at a time. He helped at local shelters, served meals, listened to stories people usually ignored. Lily watched him from a careful distance, noticing how he treated everyone the same way he treated her, with respect. One afternoon, Lily finally spoke the truth she'd been holding inside. "You know why it hurts so much?" she asked quietly as they walked along the river. "Because I lied," Daniel said. She shook her head. "Because you were the first person who saw me not as a problem to fix, but as a person. When I found out you weren't being fully honest, it felt like that was taken away." Daniel stopped walking. I see, Lily. With or without everything I had before. I always did. She studied his face, searching for doubt, for ego, for anything false. She found none. Slowly, life began to change, not overnight, not magically, but steadily. Lily accepted help from a local program Daniel had helped fund, though he kept his distance from the process. She moved into a small shared apartment, got a part-time job at the diner where they'd first eaten together. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real. And it was hers. Society still judged. People whispered when they saw them together. Some accused Lily of chasing money, even after the headlines about Daniel giving his away. Others mocked Daniel for throwing his life away for a homeless girl. One night, Lily overheard someone say, "She should be grateful he even looks at her." The words cut deep. That old shame threatened to return. But this time, Daniel stood beside her. "She doesn't owe anyone gratitude for existing," he said calmly. "And I don't owe the world an explanation for loving her." Lily felt something inside her finally settle. Love didn't need to be loud. It didn't need approval. It just needed truth. Months later, on a quiet morning, Lily stood in front of a mirror in her small room, adjusting a simple dress. She barely recognized the girl looking back. Not because she was suddenly rich or glamorous, but because her eyes held peace. Daniel waited outside, nervous in a way no boardroom had ever made him feel. When she stepped out, he smiled, not because she looked beautiful, though she did, but because she looked free. "I choose you," Lily said, voice steady. "Not because of what you gave up, but because you chose honesty when it mattered." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "And I choose you," he replied. "Every day. Not as a rescue, not as a story, but as my partner." They walked forward together, not into wealth, not into perfection, but into a life built on compassion, humility, and shared strength. The world might measure love by status, by comfort, by appearances. But theirs was born on a broken road, from a loose battery cable and a selfless act of kindness. And that kind of love was priceless. If this story touched your heart, remember this. True love doesn't begin with money, status, or perfection. It begins with kindness, honesty, and the courage to see someone for who they truly are. Lily and Daniel's journey reminds us that compassion can change lives, and that the most powerful transformations happen when we choose humanity over pride. If you believe love should be measured by the heart, not wealth, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe for more emotional stories that prove even the smallest act of kindness can create the biggest miracles. Blue Heart.